Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal and welcome to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, which is now a very, very empty and solemn place if you're a Spurs fan, of course, but not if you're one of the 3,000 Arsenal fans who are packed into the away end just over where I'm looking at right now, who have had yet another wonderful away day here at Spurs. Third year in a row that Arsenal have won at the North London derby at home. Mikel Arteta is now the first manager in Arsenal history to win 3 Premier League games at Spurs in a row. Not too bad, is it? Given the circumstances, given everyone who was out, the suspension, the injuries, this was a huge win for Arsenal, a massive one given the context of the season, which sounds a stupid thing to say at this early stage, but you know, the result goes against them today and then they go to Manchester City next weekend, facing the prospect of potentially falling 8 points behind Manchester City, even at this early stage of the season. That's why there was so much riding on this game for Arsenal, given there were so many things going against them, with so many big senior players out, 7 senior players not involved today, 5 teenagers on the bench. To come here and to win again just gives everyone, gives the club, gives the players. Mikel Arteta has just been speaking about it down in the press conference, gives them all a huge boost ahead of such a demanding week that they've got coming up. Of course, this is the first of 3 away games for Arsenal. It's Spurs today, then it's Atalanta in the Champions League on Thursday night, then it's Manchester City at the Etihad next Sunday. A physically demanding week at the best of times, let alone when you're missing some of your key players. Obviously, Declan Rice will be back for the Manchester City game. We'll wait and see on Martin Odegaard. Mikel's been speaking about it in his press conference just now downstairs, and he couldn't put a date on it. He said they're still waiting for test results. Bukayo Saka limped off today in the second half. Again, Mikel speaking about it afterwards said that it was too early to tell. We hadn't really spoken to anyone about it. It was just that Bukayo had said to the medical staff when they got to him that he couldn't continue. So wait and see how serious that is and whether that's going to mean that he's a doubt for the Champions League and the game at the Etihad next week. But, you know, put that all to one side. This was just a huge win for Arsenal. They had to do what they do best, and what they do best is defend. And today they were absolutely magnificent defensively. Once again, William Saliba, Gabriel at the heart of that defence. The partnership in the second half just seemed to relish the situation. Absolutely fantastic. I thought Jurgen Timber was excellent as well. Ben White, I mean, just so Kai Havertz, the work that Kai Havertz put in this game, absolutely superb. And Gabriel sort of capping that performance with the match-winning goal 20 minutes into the second half. There weren't many chances throughout the game. It was a pretty tense, scrappy. I mean, it wasn't a great game, to be honest, in terms of football, but a North London derby, I was going to say it isn't usually the best of games, but I suppose for most derbies, this is actually one that seems to provide an awful lot of goals season after season. It wasn't that type of game today. It was a lot scrappier, and Arsenal just had to weather a little bit of a storm. They did that in the first half. David Raya made a couple of excellent early saves as Tottenham tried to sort of take advantage maybe of the players who were missing for Arsenal. They grew into the first half. They had some big chances themselves in the first half. Kai Havertz had a header that was saved. Gabriel Martinelli got down the left. He had a fairly tame effort that he maybe could have done better with. Maybe he could have squared it to Bukayo Saka. That was comfortably saved. Those were the 2 biggest chances for Arsenal in the first half. I thought they ended the half well. They'd kind of sucked the life out of Spurs, I thought, in the first half, because Spurs did start very, very brightly. And then second half, it was pretty edgy. And once Gabriel scored that header, fabulous ball in from Bukayo Saka. That's 4 assists now that he started the season with. I think it's only the 4th player in Premier League history to start the season with 4 assists in their opening 4 games. Brilliant delivery from him from a corner. Gabriel just doing what Gabriel does best from those sort of deliveries, powering him, brushed Romero aside. It was really weak from Romero, to be honest, and thumped a header past Vicario. No stopping that, given the power on it. And then it was a case of, could Arsenal see the game out at that point? And with Gabriel, with Saliba, with Timber, who, as I said, I thought was excellent. Ben White, who I thought had some troubles with Son early on, but then just grew into the game. They just seem to relish it. You know, these are the... You go back to some of the weak Arsenal teams in fairly recent history under Arsene Wenger defensively, and even when Mikel arrived at the club, when you look at some of the defenders that they had, and they turn up at these sort of places and they just get brushed aside, and then you have all the usual things said about them, about how weak they are, and they're anything but that now. And it's those 2, Saliba and Gabriel, at the heart of that defence. I just don't think there's a better centre-back partnership in world football right now than those 2. And like I said, they just seem to relish it. Tottenham ran out of ideas. They had a lot of the ball in the final 20 minutes. Obviously, it was a little bit nervy because you never knew. All it took was one perfect ball in or one lucky break to fall from him. But on the whole, Arsenal were just never really threatened. And David Raya was superb. His handling was excellent when he was called upon. And in the end, they saw the game out fairly comfortably, and just a huge win for them. It moves them to within 2 points of Manchester City, obviously at the top of the table, now ahead of that massive game at the Etihad next week. And if Arsenal can go there, I mean, there's plenty of time to talk about that in the next week, but if you can go there and avoid defeat at the Etihad and still just be 2 points behind Manchester City at this stage, given the first 3 away games they've got, I think you'd have snapped anyone's hand off for that at that point. So really solid performance from Arsenal. They can be very, very happy with their afternoon's work here. Just before I move on to my player ratings, some of the immediate reaction from Mikel Arteta in terms of what he had to say. He said, "We have the power to make our people very happy. Hopefully we have achieved that. We suffered because we had to adapt, and I loved it." In terms of all the injuries that Arsenal had and the build-up and the disrupted build-up they had to the game, he said, with all the bad news, the team got hungrier and hungrier to play the game. And that's a great quality. There were no excuses. People that are hard have thick skin, that love winning. In order to win, you have to do things that people consider ugly. We have won 3 years in a row here. That's a big thing. We have a big week coming up, and this will give us energy. And as he said, to win big things, you have to be able to do things that are ugly at times. And Arsenal, I just don't think there's a better team in England at being able to do that because of the defence that they've got. And and that just gives them such a fabulous base to be able to build on. And you've always got a chance at that point, especially with the quality of delivery from set pieces, even if things aren't really happening in the attacking third. And they didn't really today, when you got people who can put in decent deliveries, and then you got the likes of GABRIEL, Saliba, Havertz being able to attack it in that penalty area, you've always got a chance of winning the game. It's exactly what happened here today. Okay, moving on to my player ratings then for today. Started with David Raya. As I said, he made a couple of really important early saves because Tottenham started the game very, very well. They came out quickly, as you would expect, given how many players were missing from Arsenal. You knew that Tottenham were going to want to try and disrupt them and have a fast start, and they did that. And Raya made some good saves from Kulusevski early on. After that, I thought he was really confident whenever he was dealing with crosses. It's just been an excellent start to the season for David Raya, whether it be playing for Arsenal, whether it be playing for Spain, and he's done it here again today. So I gave David Raya an 8 out of 10. Ben White, I gave a 7. I thought it was a tough battle with Son, especially in the first half. Son got the better of him at times, which you would expect, because Son's going to get the better of most fullbacks at times during the game, but he stuck to it really, really well. I thought he was very good in the second half as well, Ben White. So I gave him a 7. Saliba, I gave an 8. Could easily have been a 9 for Saliba. Made one superb block in the first half. When I think it was Ben White giving the ball away, sort of trying to play out from the back, and the ball broke for Solanke, and it looked like he was going to get his shot away. Saliba just came in from nowhere. Brilliant block from him. As I said, both he and Gabriel seem to relish what happened in the second half and relish what Spurs threw at them. Gave him an 8 out of 10. Gabriel's my man of the match. Gave him a 9 out of 10. Obviously scored the winner. Brilliant header, but not just that, just his defending, the clearances, the blocks that he came in and was doing, just flinging himself in front of Tottenham players, just the sort of game that Gabriel loves. And this was it. He epitomised everything that Arsenal needed to do. So I gave him an 8. Jurrien Timber, as I said, I think this is his best performance in an Arsenal shirt. Timber was up and down the pitch, showed great energy, got involved as well. There was a big sort of flare up in the first half. He got booked for a tackle, then it sort of grabbed Vicario around the neck. But it's that kind of thing you need in a derby. Really sort of showed he had something about him, Jurrien Timber. I thought it was definitely his best performance in an Arsenal shirt. Fitness-wise, I thought he looked really, really promising as well, because he was up and down the pitch. And really good performance from Jurrien Timber. Gave him an 8 in midfield. Jorginho gave a 7. Partey gave a 7 as well. I was surprised at how sort of far forward Jorginho pressed at times, especially in the first half. I was sitting there thinking, just sit back and sort of protect the back four a little bit more. But he got forward. I thought he had a good first half, struggled in the early stages of the second half, got robbed of possession once that nearly led to a chance for Solanke. Then he got booked soon after that, and you thought, he's struggling here, his legs are going. But I thought he finished the game very, very well, even though he cramped up at one point. So I gave him a 7. Thomas Partey didn't get on the ball as much, I think, as Arsenal would have liked. But I thought in the second half, especially, he seemed to be like, right, I'm just going to sit in front of the back four here. At first half, he went forward a little bit and got caught out at times. Second half, I just thought he sat in front of the back four, did what he can do really, really well, and he protected that back four well. I thought it was solid from Thomas, especially in that second half. Gave him a 7. Havertz, I gave an 8 out of 10. I thought Havertz was just exceptional, just did not stop working, exactly what you needed for him. With the midfield players who are out for Arsenal, you knew coming into this game that Havertz was going to be so important because of that work rate, because of his engine, and he did everything that Arteta would have wanted for him. Kai Havertz, so it was a really solid performance from him yet again. So I gave him an 8 out of 10. In attack, I gave Saka a 7. Looked a threat on the counter at times, but wasn't really in the game, maybe attacking sense as much as Arsenal would have liked, but did set up the goal with a brilliant delivery. I gave him a 7. Trossard, I gave a 5. Just couldn't get into the game, Trossard. I thought Arsenal would have wanted more from him. took some risks in possession as well, which he did here last season, and I thought it was a very similar performance from him today as it was in this game last season. I gave him a 5 out of 10. Martinelli, I gave a 7 out of 10. Set up Havertz for a good chance in the first half. Could have done better with that chance he had when he got in down the left-hand side, but he gave Porro a really difficult afternoon, I thought. Martinelli ran at him all the time, and I thought Porro struggled to deal with him, so I gave him a 7 out of 10. The subs who came on, none of them really impacted the game, and they're on late on. Obviously, Nwaneri came on for Saka in the last few minutes. Jesus and Sterling came on before that, but I'm not really going to give any of those a score. In terms of Arteta, I know lots of people ask me to rate Arteta. I'll give him a 7 out of 10 for this one. He his players did exactly what he would have asked from given the circumstances. Just stay tight, defend very, very well. He did that. I thought he got the team right. I thought it was a team he should have played. And as I said at the start, he's now the first Arsenal manager in Premier League history to win 3 games in a row at Tottenham, which is some achievement. So, congratulations to him in that regard. And he is, because he's already done his press conference, is now a very, very happy man at the start of what's going to be a really tricky week. He's now, it's 1 win ticked off. Let's see what the next 2 wins will bring. Right, I'll be back again tomorrow to do my usual sort of proper in-depth reaction show. You want to get involved in that? Tell me what you liked about this performance, what you didn't like about this performance, who stood out, who maybe didn't. You know what to do. Give me your reaction in the comments below. I'll pull some of them together and get them included in tomorrow's show. But until then, from the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, it's finished Spurs 0, Arsenal 1. North London absolutely red once again.